G'day guys, welcome. One thing I have done in these reviews over the course of 3 years since I've been doing reviews on My Blue Heaven is I've had a tendency to and there's been a lot of losses. There's been more losses than wins. I generally take a lot longer to review after a loss. I don't know, I just feel like I need to reflect more. You're highly emotional after a loss compared to a win, although the feelings are obviously different. I tend to jump on pretty quickly after a win, within 24 hours at least. So I wanted to really reflect, okay, the same way I would for a loss. Because there was a sense of, there's still a sense of confusion, although it was a really good win. And I was happy, I was genuinely happy throughout the game, genuinely happy for, a lot of things, a lot of individual performances. And obviously it's all about the way we want to play as a team. And I think that was good as well. But I don't know, I just felt like I needed to really have a really good, hard, long think about this win in particular. And I suppose stack it up against what's happened previously. What this means moving forward. What is it about this win that didn't sit comfortably with me? Because there was a sense of flatness after this win. I don't know if any of you felt a sense of flatness after this win. And was it a flatness? I was trying to think, was it a flatness because what we produced the week before against North? Was it a flatness because we didn't run the game out and we didn't, smash St Kilda by 10 goals? We had an opportunity to do that. So yeah, maybe there was a little bit of that in it, but I think there was more than just that. So that's why I wanted a few days to think about it. So this is what I sort of came up with, and I wanted to listen. I wanted to listen to press conferences. I wanted to listen to the players. I wanted to listen to some of the commentary. And I like the way Cripper and Walsh spoke after the game in regards to now the focus becomes on the response after the response. I like that. So the focus, we're not there. Okay, the challenge now is to be able to back it up, and that really has been, I suppose, the narrative over the last few days from most of the supporters is about, are we able to back that up? So I suppose I wanted to reflect on that response because I think that's fair. I think that's fair, and I'm in that camp as well. But I'd like to go a step further, if I may, in regards to that response. Because I think when you talk about a response, you're talking about you have a really bad loss, and we've had a loss at those, and it's how you respond the following week. And you're almost talking about emotions. Can you get yourself up? And we knew there'd be a response. And how many brutal conversations have we had this year where we then thought, okay, we will see a response. And something wasn't quite sitting comfortably with me about this response. Because it almost says that we've turned up to other games this year in the losses, and there's been plenty of losses against good sides and losses against poor sides, almost saying that we haven't turned up to play. We haven't turned up to play. Okay, the application and effort hasn't been there. Well, that might be so through parts of the game, but I couldn't remember one time this year. So I had to go through the results, but I spent a day racking my brain thinking, have we actually been blown out of the water in a game this year where we've actually sat there as a supporter watching the game, whether you've been at the game at the MCG or Marvel Stadium, and thinking, God, that was a shocking first. We're gone. Okay, look how flat we are. We're just like... And I couldn't think of a game. I couldn't think of a game where we've been blown out of the water, it's been over at quarter time, and the application and effort hasn't been there in some form or another in the first quarter. So I have no doubt this group has come mentally switched on to play, and there's been a significant shift. And I think I may have spoken about this before, between when Teague took over to where this group is now in regards to being ready to play, ready to play. And I'm sure they're doing the work at training during the week and everything to get them switched on to play. There's no doubt about that. And maybe they're too emotionally up, okay? They're too emotionally up. And they are playing on a lot of emotion early in games. So I went through right from round one, right up until the game against St Kilda on Friday night. And there was only one game, because I couldn't really think of one. There was only one game that really stuck out to me, was the game against the GWS Giants. Okay, and we played 3 in a row in New South Wales. Okay, I think we played 2 at the SCG, 2 losses, 1 against the Swans, 1 against the Eagles, and then we had to go again. I think it was during lockdown 4 here in Melbourne. I can't remember whether we'd come back to Melbourne after the Eagles game or we stayed in Sydney. Okay, but we definitely looked flat in that first quarter against the Giants. And I remember thinking at the end of that first quarter, God, we look bad. Okay, this has got disaster written all over it. But every other game this year, every other game, even in the poor losses, we have been there at quarter time. We have been there. Richmond round 1, trail by 1 point after the previous year getting blown out of the water in the first quarter. Even the round 2 game against Collingwood. I know they led by 18 points at quarter time, but we were well in that game right up until the final minutes, and then Collingwood piled on a couple of goals. All right? Right the way through, we've either led at quarter time or we've only trailed by no more than a goal. So you can't tell me we haven't been ready to respond in all the games this year when we've crossed that white line and been switched on mentally and prepared. Okay? And then I started to think about, some of the more recent games, the ones where we can remember. We trailed by 2 points against Geelong a few weeks back at the MCG. We kicked 1 goal 5 to there, 2 goals 1 in that first quarter, then lost our way. Admittedly against a very good football team. North last week. Okay, so we've gone from one of the top teams in the competition to the bottom team. We kicked 2 goals 5 to North, 3 goals 1 in the first quarter to trail by 2 points at quarter time, then lost our way. And then I went back to that press conference last week, which David Teague said. Okay, we started well. And none of us wanted to believe that. That's not cool, okay? We just wanted to sink the boots in. Fair enough as well. It was a dreadful loss. But you go back to that first quarter against North Melbourne last week. No one can tell me that we weren't ready to be switched on to play against North Melbourne. We kicked 2 goals 5 to there, 3 goals 1 in the first quarter, 7 scoring shots to 4. We were playing the game pretty much on our own terms. Sure, they got a couple of cheapies out the back, but you can't tell me, and North had been in solid form themselves, that we weren't there. Okay, they blow us out of the water in that first quarter. But then he mentioned that word, we dropped the bundle. So that, for me, becomes the concern. Not so much of the response the following week, because I think there's always been a response. I think we've been there. It's more the fluctuation in effort and application within games, and generally within second and third quarters. And this has been a consistent thing right throughout David Teague's tenure as senior coach of this football club. So it has to be partly not coach driven. He wouldn't be going out there trying to train the players to play in that way. It has to be, the players have to take responsibility for that as well within games. Okay, I don't know enough about what changes can be made from a structural point of view within games. Okay, I don't know. I mean, we sit in the stands, okay, and we hear, oh, he should have done this and he should have done that. But what we can see as supporters is the application and effort throughout games and the dropping the bundle to lose their way and to lose their way so dramatically. And we saw it last week against North Melbourne. We didn't have we had our things on our own terms in the first quarter. We didn't put scoreboard pressure on. And David Teague said, we dropped our bundle. How many times, he hasn't mentioned it, but how many times have we dropped our bundle this year? Look at all the games where we've dropped our bundle. I reckon you can go right the way through, other than our wins, where we've dropped our bundle, okay? After starting reasonably well, we've fallen away when things don't go our way. So I don't think responding the following week and being mentally switched on to play a game of AFL football is mental toughness. I think as a professional athlete, you should be ready to start a game. Okay? There's no excuse not to be. My big concern, as I said, is the application and effort within games when things don't go our way. And this is, for me, true mental toughness. So is Teague really the man to take us forward with this? I don't know. I think we're running out of time to see that this year. We've got 3 games remaining and we've really only got one game, I think, the Port Adelaide game, where we're probably going to get that, okay? And that's no disrespect to the Gold Coast Suns this week, but it's the game against Port Adelaide where I'm generally looking for that mental toughness, because we know we're really going to be challenged by Port Adelaide over there. Within the game. We'll be fired up to go over there and play, okay, on their own dunghill. The season will be well and truly still alive for us, but it will be the mental toughness within the game, the challenges that we are confronted them within that game. Now, for me, mental toughness is that strength under stress within the game. And the actual preparation for challenges within that game. And also the right attitude towards any setback within game. And what we've seen, the recent thing within setbacks is that accuracy in front of goals. Okay, we've kicked poorly in first quarters against Geelong, then North Melbourne, then dropped our bundle. It's a setback. The players have lost their way back on not scoring. And for me, that's not mental toughness. So as much as I enjoyed this win against St Kilda, I really did. I just don't think we were really challenged, because we kicked 10 goals, won. 10 goals, won, which is great accuracy in front of goal. And you know what? It was on the back of great effort in that first quarter. We tackled, I mean, we had 50 tackles. We probably took it up a level on what we've done in the past. There's no doubt about that. All right? We hunted the ball. We hunted the man. I thought it was fantastic. 50-odd tackles, as I said, in that first half. Fantastic. But we kicked accurately. We didn't drop the bundle. We didn't drop the bundle because we kicked accurately on the back of that, and we got the game on our own terms. And not for one minute, really, okay, did St Kilda really challenge us after that. So for me, that game, you win under different circumstances, but I haven't seen one time this year where we've been, I don't know, whether we've had setbacks and we've been up for the fight. Okay, we've been up for the fight. And I don't know what it is with this group. I don't know if it's coach-driven or player-driven. I'm not quite sure. But for me, it appears a consistent thing, and you have to ask the question, has it become habit? Has it become habit? And can he change it? Can he change it? Or is it too far gone? Is it too far gone? All right? So I'm just going to leave that because I want to concentrate on some of the really good things I saw in that St Kilda game. I thought, first thing, I didn't think he had a great game, but I thought Ed Curnow, as one of the veterans, really set the tone. Really set the tone early in that game with his tackling pressure. I just seemed to be at every contest. At every contest. We know he's a warrior, but at every contest there was Ed. His tackling, he was ferocious. And that led the likes of Matt Kennedy to do the same. I think Matt Kennedy led the game in tackles. He was huge in that regard. Lockie O'Brien. Maybe, I mean, I heard a lot of, this is what happens. This is what happens when you give these guys an opportunity. I just read so much of that. It was almost like, okay, the supporters out there think just because Lockie O'Brien came in, okay, we're suddenly a better team and we win. Okay, I don't think that's the case. I think the fact of the matter is we were that brutal around the contest in that first quarter. It enabled the game to break open for the likes of Lockie O'Brien to get on the end. And he was terrific, don't get me wrong. And I think his skill set was there for all of us to see. Some of his kicking inside forward 50 was absolutely spot on. His ability to hit up Harry and lower his eyes was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And he showed, okay, on that wing, all right, that he's got a lot to offer. That's bloody one game. And maybe all that time over the last 2 years that he's spent in the VFL has been a good thing for him. It's actually been a good thing for him. Maybe think of it that way. Maybe think his attitude hasn't been right. Maybe he hasn't been mentally ready to play this brutal game and they got too many games into him in his first 2 seasons. And maybe we're going to see, him blossom. But that's just one game. Let's see whether Lockie, can back that up. Maybe he'll have another blinder. Well, he didn't have a blinder, but he had another good game against the Gold Coast Suns. But I'll tell you what, you're going to have a trip to South Australia, in 2 weeks' time. And he's going to be playing on a Carl Amon. All right, so there's going to be the test. So let's just cool our jets a little bit with Lockie O'Brien, but we liked what we saw. I liked Josh Honey's game. I really did. And I think he's one who really has been knocking down the door. But the same, second-year player. We don't know what work's been done with these kids. We've been banging on about development for so long. All right? And I've said in the past, maybe this is the best place for these young players to be developing. Are they ready to play? And he comes in and he plays exceptionally well. I think Josh Honey, I don't even know how many possessions he had, but I know he had about 4 or 5 goal assists. He seemed to be, feeding off a lot of handballs. He's got terrific speed and power. But I think he's a 10 to 15 possession player in the VFL, and he's a 10 to 15 possession player, at the elite level. And he's that type of player, He doesn't need, to be getting a lot of the ball. And I think what you see in the VFL with Josh Honey is what you're going to see, at senior level. And I think that was really good. And I think it was a really pleasing performance by Josh Honey. I'm going to have egg on my face. I know that. I know I'm going to have egg on my face about Jack Silvani. I know, and I'm quite happy to acknowledge that. I was wrong. I'm not backpedaling here, but I never questioned Jack's effort and desire. I did, I suppose, question his talent and his ability to make an impact forward of centre, And I still hold myself to that, But look, one thing is he's more than just that. And I think we've seen over the last month, particularly with this, new role of going into the ruck, I think it's opened up a lot of opportunities, not just for him personally, but also for us as a team. And I sort of like what I see with that. So if TDK can really develop and really explode as your genuine number one ruckman, who can pretty much ruck for, say, 85% of the game. That will allow us to use Jack as that pinch hitter in the ruck. Because I think he's shown he's able to do that. He can go to 1 or 2 centre bounces He can do a bit of work around the ground. He's very good at ground level. We know he butters up. We know he gets his hands dirty, and he is clever. He is clever and he is smart. Okay, and that really, I think, for us structurally, we don't need two ruckmen. We don't need to play TDK, and we don't need to play Mark Pittonet as well. And I think that's exciting because we are now starting to see, I mean, how great was it to see Harry and Charlie play together? There's a possibility of Gov coming back this weekend, so we're going to get to see them three play together for the first time in such a long time as well. So that means that Jack then has to become a lot more flexible in the way he wants to play his football. He was huge on the weekend. Okay, his performance was meritorious when TDK went down. And I think we probably dodged a bullet with Paddy Ryder going out of the team. I don't think the young guy, Hunter's really up to the task. But Jack was absolutely fantastic. People hate me giving Tom Williamson a rap, and I know he got caught a couple of times. I'd prefer him to do that, and take the game on and back himself, continually back himself. I thought he did a wonderful job on Daniel Butler. I really did. And for him to then hurt Butler the other way by going forward and kicking 2 goals was a bonus. I didn't think it was a great game by Tom Williamson, but I think he deserves a pat on the back because I think he's one player that's copped a fair bit of crap off the supporters, and rightly so. His form was ordinary at the start of the year, but he's making the most of this second opportunity this season. Will he be in the team this week? Who knows? But I think it was a pretty good performance by Tom Williamson. Paddy Dow. Is he on the cusp? Is he on the cusp of becoming a really, really, really good player? A really good player? Or is he teasing us? We're not going to know until we see a breakout game from Paddy Dow. He's good is really good. Okay, and what we're seeing is his kicking's improved. No doubt about that. That's the most pleasing thing. We know he's good in traffic, but he's not quite there yet. And can he give us a real breakout performance? Because I think when it's all said and done, we're still 1 or 2 short in that midfield, and we still need the likes of Paddy Dow to explode, okay, and become a really consistent performer. But I'm talking more than just the 20 touches. We need him to become a 25 to 30 possession player, like what I saw yesterday with that extraordinary good young midfield of Fremantle, Brayshaw, Chera, Sarong. I mean, Brayshaw 39 touches, Chera mid-30s, and Sarong probably was the quieter out of the 3. He was still up around the mid-20s, and then they have that sort of elite ruckman in Darcy. We need Dow to get that breakout game into him, and hopefully, okay, that will help him moving forward. We just haven't quite seen it yet. I like the game of Jack Martin. I think his performances, even in the game against North Melbourne, I think he's working really hard. I like the position he's playing at the moment. I still think he's playing under a little bit of duress, but I think his performances are improving as the season goes on. I mean, we love the tackling pressure. We loved how he hunted in numbers. I liked how Brett Ratton said that we handled their pressure. He didn't think that their team's pressure was that bad, but we handled their pressure better than what they handled our pressure. I'm going to leave it up on that. I don't really want to go much. I mean, I've said enough about Murph. Okay. Can I just finish up on saying, though, with that I don't know. I just feel now with 3 games to go with the season, and the fact that the season's well and truly alive with us, that we're still very much compromised with this. Not only are we nursing Murph through now, and that was clear. If you cannot sit there and say, you might have the opinion that he deserves to get the 300. I haven't got a problem with that. If that's what you believe, that he deserves to get there based on loyalty, then that's fine. That's fine. Okay, but you cannot tell me for 1 second that our sole focus should be on winning games for the rest of the season. How important is that for us right here, right now? Right here, right now. The number one objective for us right here is to win a game of football. Okay? And you cannot tell me that Murph is, I don't know, he's not up to it. Okay? He's not up to it. And I know he's going to be played as the medical sub, but when TDK went down on the weekend, geez, Murph wasn't the best replacement to come on. He was not the best replacement and came on and he played accordingly. And I was actually happy he kicked that goal right at the end just to give him something. Not only we have that, not only are we going to finish on that and we're going to try and nurse. And this is what I see is going to happen. This is what I can see is going to happen. Murph will play as a sub this week against the Suns. I don't think they'll play him against Port Adelaide. I don't think he'll even go over there. That's my inkling. And I reckon they'll play him in the last game against GWS on the field. That's the way I think it's going to pan out. Okay. And the other one now that's going to be a little bit compromised, I think, is Eddie Betts. And the tendency, so not only are we going to have Mark Murphy, we're also going to have Eddie Betts to get games into him before the end of the year as well. Which, I don't know. I just think, I don't know. It doesn't sit overly comfortable with me because I'm so desperate to win these final games of the season and finish this season really, really strongly. And I'm not in an overly sentimental mood. Okay, not in an overly sentimental mood. Anyway, I'll see you again later in the week with the preview of the Gold Coast Suns game. Catch ya.